I'm an American who's been traveling the world and living abroad for nearly 2 years, but I haven't yet had the privilege of visiting Austria. However, these Americans have. Bearing that in mind, in this video, we will be analyzing Americans experiencing culture shocks in Austria.
Some things about Austria I find just simply crazy. For example, if you're like 25, you're still a uni kid and you're considered young, not working yet. In the US, you'd be hustling, okay? By the time you're 20, 21, you're hustling, you're a full-time workforce employee. Over here, these 24-year-old uni kids are like, oh my God, I'm still so young and like I don't know anything about life. And I'm not saying that's bad, okay? Because stay young forever. It's just the difference is crazy. Secondly, why is everybody here sick constantly or constantly scared of getting sick? You're never healthy. You're either sick or getting scared of getting sick. No, wait. You're either sick or you're scared of getting sick. Those are the only two options. Healthy is not an option.
What I've gathered from what she said about Austrians at 25 still not knowing much about life or feeling like they don't know much about life is that Austria is a good place to be. Generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, and I'm more so speaking from the standpoint of the US, so let me know if you feel like it's different in Austria, but in the US, the kids who come from more dangerous environments, or more harsh environments, should I say, they typically grow up faster. They have to mature a lot faster. So a 17-year-old from, let's say, for example, Compton, California, which is a dangerous neighborhood, compared to a 17-year-old from Beverly Hills, California, which is an exclusive and very wealthy and privileged neighborhood, the 17-year-old from the harsh environment is going to be more mature than the 17-year-old from the privileged environment. When people talk about being in a bubble, that's basically what that means. Being sheltered, that's basically what that means. And I'm not saying that Austrians are just sheltered in a negative sense. I'm saying that in a positive sense, in that you have the social safety net, and more importantly, it seems like in Austria, you have the luxury of having that runway to figure out not only how to take off, but where you want to go once you've taken off. I feel like a lot of Americans, especially in this day and age, don't have that luxury because for the Americans who do choose to go to college, they're pulling out 5-figure student loans. I mean, when you're going into $50,000 of student loan debt, when you're signing that contract at 18 years old, of course you have no choice but to mature very quickly. But I also feel like, and this is just based on my experience interacting with Europeans from other countries, it seems like even if they're not as mature in the sense that they've been exposed to the harsh realities of life, they tend to be more intelligent and cultured. And a big part of that is living in Europe and having access to all of these different countries. I'm going to take a wild guess, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here, but I'm going to take a wild guess that the average Austrian by the age of 25 has already been to at least 2 countries outside of Austria. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, because maybe it's even more than that. But I'm saying this to say that I've never met a European person who has not left their country before. And this is regardless of economic status or income level. So your average American at 25 years old, maybe they left the country, especially if they come from a more privileged background, but your average American will not have left the country by 25. Your average American has maybe not even left their state before, but definitely won't have left the country, and especially won't have been to another country with a very different culture from the US's culture. So I think that just like how YouTube helped mature me in one way, in the oh, I have to figure this out way, kind of like how people who have children young have to mature very quickly. Traveling has helped me mature as well. It's helped me learn more about the world and, by extension, more about myself. And this is something that I've just noticed in Europeans of pretty much every age demographic, is that they just have a better sense of culture and the world around them.
First time I ever went on a date in Austria, the man I was on a date with got really mad at me for a cultural faux pas I made. I'm gonna tell you what I did. I'm gonna tell you how mad he got, and then I want your opinion. Was he overreacting or no? Okay, let me set the stage. I was 22, I had just moved to Austria. I was living with an Italian family, so it's not like I had a lot of experience at that point with Austrian traditions. And as I mentioned in my previous TikTok about how I met my husband, I was doing a little bit of online dating. Soon after making an account, this nice guy wants to go get like some wine with me. I'm like, sure, why not? Let's go. The man orders us 2 Weisse spritzers, which I had never had before. Wasn't really a wine person back then, but I totally am now. And we're chatting. The guy's really boring, but that's not his fault, just different personalities, and our drinks come. Our wine arrives, I'm about to take a drink, and he's like, oh, wait, in Austria you have to Prost. I hadn't heard about that. As I said, I had just moved to the country. It's not something we do in the US, but I was like, cool, what does that mean? He's like, just take your drink and, Prost. Okay, that sounds fun. So, I grab my drink, I put it towards him, and then apparently I did the worst thing ever you could possibly ever do on a date. As our drinks connected and I said Prost, apparently right at the last minute, my little socially awkward self, my eyes went, whoop. I didn't look him in the eyes. So yeah, I didn't know that was a big thing. Apparently it is, but he was legitimately angry about it. Because I can imagine him nicely letting me know, by the way, it's part of the tradition, you have to make the eye contact. But no, he was actually mad. I vividly remember he was like, you didn't look me in the eyes. You have to look me in the eyes when we Prost. And I'm just sitting there sorry. And then he's telling me how if you don't make eye contact when you Prost, it means 7 years of bad, which apparently was something he was super worried about because he was so angry, which I think says more about his skills than anything else. I don't know. So yeah, that's what my first ever date in Austria got mad at me for. Obviously, I never talked to him again, and the next date I went on was with my now husband, so things worked out in the end. But let me know, should he have gotten that mad? If you say yes, you're wrong.
That kind of caught me off guard that in Austria you also say Prost, because look, I spent 14 months in the Netherlands and I don't drink alcohol, but one thing I did learn is that the way to say cheers is Prost in Dutch. Maybe that's not even a Dutch word. Maybe that's a German word then. I don't know. Let me know in the comments where the word Prost comes from. I know that German and Dutch have some commonalities, actually a lot of commonalities, but didn't expect that to be one of them. It's literally the same exact word. Now, as far as no eye contact during the Prost, that's not something that I've heard of. That must be an Austria specific thing, or maybe it's Austria and a few other countries, not including the Netherlands. Because when my girlfriend and I would Prost with our sparkling water or our regular water, because again, I don't drink alcohol, we didn't really make eye contact with that. And I mean, look, I have some bad days, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that I've just begun having 7 years of bad luck or whatever the superstition was. So let me know where this comes from. I feel like every culture has some kind of superstition. This person right here said, not everyone is like that in Austria, just so you know. So this might be something that is maybe a little more generational, but she said she was 22 when it happened, so I'm going to assume that maybe he was young as well. That's kind of interesting. I mean, again, every culture and a lot of families even have their own superstitions, but I've just never heard that one before. Let me know in the comments where that comes from, and let me know if you believe that. Let me know if you find it important to make eye contact whenever you Prost, or even what the eye contact culture is like in general in Austria. Because from what I understand, in a lot of East Asian cultures, for example, I'm filming this video from Vietnam, haven't really spoken with enough people to know if this is the case or not, but at least in Japan, for example, generally people are a lot more wary of making and sustaining eye contact, and I will admit it makes me a bit uncomfortable to sustain eye contact for a long period of time as well. Granted, I had to kind of train myself out of that mentality, but I'm still not completely comfortable just locking eyes with people, especially on a first date like that. I don't know, me personally, maybe I'm just socially awkward like her, but I feel like that's a mistake that I probably could have made as well. So right off the bat, I'm inclined to agree with this person right here who said, every day I find out we're getting scammed over here. Most certainly, Americans, especially American college students, are getting absolutely robbed blind. Because not only are they paying $50,000 or more to attend college, but they most certainly do not have the freedom to schedule their exams whenever they want. So imagine, you have people literally paying $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 or more in some cases to go to a university, and they can't even schedule their exams whenever they want. Make that make sense. And this is one of those things that I never would have thought about had I not known that they're doing that in other countries like Austria. I mean, that is absolutely mind-blowing. And if I was a college student in the US watching that video, I would feel some type of way. I would be pretty pissed off about that. Just having that level of freedom, not only during college, but after college, again, with the student loan situation in the US, which I am going to assume does not exist in Austria, just like in most of the rest of Europe, if not all of the rest of Europe. I mean, it just seems like that whole experience is much more enjoyable in a place like Austria than the US. Now, as far as the national holiday situation, I definitely need an explanation for this because I don't really know what they meant by that. Do they literally just mean they just take the day off just because? Because if that's the case, then again, American college students are getting scammed. What I want to know is how much money do Austrian universities cost? For a 4-year degree, how much can your average Austrian student expect to pay? Or, I know that in some countries, they actually get paid to attend college. So if that's the case in Austria, how much can your average student expect to get paid for attending university?